Well, let's move on then to our final segment, Francine. You've been under lockdown for 6 weeks or more. How are you coping, and what are you watching, reading, or listening to?
So how am I coping? I'm very, very fortunate because I've been well. That's really important. My husband's well, my dog, we've all been well, and my friends and family have all been well. One of my family members did have COVID, but now fortunately he's okay. So we've gone through the stress of it all. So I'm one of the fortunate people. I'm also fortunate in that I have a job which is allowing me to do distance working. So I have a salary that comes in, so I don't have those worries about finances, which a lot of people who work in different industries are suffering from. But in terms of how I personally am doing well, I actually qualified as a Pilates, mat-based Pilates teacher in February. And Pilates is a fantastic sport, a fantastic discipline. And Joseph Pilates actually, back in the Spanish flu era, was training people in his technique. And the people around him all survived because one of the things that Pilates does, it teaches you how to inhale properly and exhale properly. So I'm doing lots of classes for friends and family and making sure that they can inhale and exhale properly, and also doing my own classes. So Pilates is definitely my personal survival mechanism. And I've just set up my own little Facebook page, Francine HR Fitness. So that's all very exciting. So that's positive for me. What's also nice about doing this is my Zoom calls mean I can meet people in Spain or in the UK and be a cheery face at the end of the camera to try and, impart something positive on a daily basis. So that's been really great for me. Now, in terms of TV drama, I'm a huge fan of the spy series that are a bit more intellectual. And so the biggest treat for me has been Homeland. It's the last series of Homeland, Series 8. Claire Danes is a fabulous actress. I love that they've brought in her husband in real life, Hugh Dancy, who's a completely vile character in the Oval Office in this series. And it's just very interesting because it looks at the characters in great depth, as well as the situations and the whole grey area. So no longer we think, the US is a great force for good, Russians are the enemy. It's so much more sophisticated now in terms of the dialogue behind the scenes. So that's been very interesting. And tomorrow it's a final episode in that series ever. So I can't wait to see that. In France, we have to mention the Bureau de Légende, which is known as the Bureau internationally. Another really interesting spy series. This last series 5 seems rather intellectual, and it's also got the big Russian component. But it's about your allegiances and traitors and everything, but it's very well done. And then, of course, we can't not mention that fabulous pro-women series, Killing Eve, which I absolutely love, with Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer, of course, written and conceived of by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And that's fantastic. So far, I'm really enjoying the first 2 episodes of that particular series. And there's a TV series which on Netflix, which I'm going to mention. I found it interesting, and it's certainly worth a watch if you haven't watched it already, called Unorthodox, based on Deborah Feldman's book, which is about her rejection of her Hasidic roots, and that's about breaking free from a difficult situation. And I think that's not a bad drama to watch at this point in time, because we have time at home to think and reevaluate our lives. So I think that's a good one to bear in mind. Something very sad happened 10 days ago. One of my very good friends, who is a film director, sadly passed. He was very young. He died of cancer. And I want to talk about his documentary called Solo. It premiered in one of the sections of Cannes last year, and he's called Artemio Benchi. And I'll have to see if it's released or not, or how to get hold of it. But it's about an Argentinian concert pianist who is a child prodigy. But then as he gets older, the stress of being this amazing pianist, so young and traveling the world, really just got to him. And he ended up being in an institute, in a secure facility in Argentina. And Artemio Benchi spent time with him in Argentina, really following his every move as he was released from the institute, in doing piano concerts, etc. And that's a really moving and in-depth documentary, which is really worth watching. And of course, the piano music is fantastic to hear as well. So that's another tip I can give you. Definitely try and revisit old films that you've enjoyed in the past. That's worth doing. I personally am still reading, because I love Orhan Pamuk so much. I'm still reading Snow. My next book I'm planning on reading is this one by Haruki Murakami, A Wild Sheep Chase. So, I mean, there's so much to do. I'm actually finding my time goes quite quickly. I also think that another thing that's important to keep on maintaining during lockdown is to be kind to other people and to be kind to yourself. Because I think kindness at the end of the day is what really matters. So even if it's just taking some loaves to people who aren't getting any contact in the outside, whatever it is, those small acts of kindness really matter. And I think that's very important as well.